If men are feeling that something has changed in the bedroom, if their erections are no longer as firm, or if intimacy feels more like an obligation than a pleasure, this could be the most important thing they hear in a long time. Because the way many men use their penis daily without knowing it is sabotaging their long term sexual health. And they weren't just talking about sex, they were talking about something much deeper. The feeling that an essential part of themselves had vanished. They couldn't pinpoint an exact moment it began. There was no injury or sudden illness, just a slow, progressive loss of energy, of desire, of performance. If this sounds familiar, Dr. Carter wants to say, men are not broken, they are not alone, and they are not beyond repair. What is really happening isn't just getting older, at least not in the way most people think. It's biological, it's chemical, and it's vascular. As men age, their bodies begin to produce less nitric oxide, the vital molecule responsible for relaxing the blood vessels so blood can flow freely into the corpus cavernosa of the penis. Without enough nitric oxide, it's impossible to achieve and maintain a firm erection, no matter how much desire they might feel in their mind. But it's not just blood flow. The brain also begins to slow the production of dopamine, the neurotransmitter that drives pleasure, motivation, and desire. And at the same time, oxidative stress accumulates, silently damaging nerves and vessels, much like rust on an old pipe. This triple threat of low nitric oxide, low dopamine, and high oxidative stress forms the root of most age-related performance issues. And unless all three are addressed, no pill, no pump, no supplement will provide lasting results. And here's the fundamental mistake most men make daily. Many of them are, unknowingly, accelerating this damage process through an activity that seems innocent, the incorrect use of the penis. And now that the problem is understood, the solution can finally be discussed. So, what if there was a way to use the penis that not only prevents damage but also repairs it? Viewers should stay tuned because this next part could change everything. 2. The incorrect way to use the penis that many men practice without knowing. In her clinic, Dr. Carter has observed a concerning pattern in men suffering from erectile dysfunction. It's a behavioral pattern that has been normalized in the age of technology, a behavior that goes far beyond intimacy and centers on a solitary habit that is actively damaging the delicate neurovascular system previously mentioned. This habit is excessive and frequent ejaculation without a partner, and this is where most people get it wrong. Dr. Carter is not talking about morality or judgment. She is talking about pure biochemistry and physiology. Every time a man ejaculates, his body releases a cascade of neurotransmitters and hormones. The process itself is a biological marvel, but when practiced excessively and repeatedly, especially without the emotional stimulation and connection of a partner, it can overload the system. It creates a constant demand for dopamine that the brain struggles to match, which can lead to desensitization. Over time, the brain needs more and more stimulus to get the same reward, which can decrease sensitivity and desire. Furthermore, excessive ejaculation can generate oxidative stress in the body, the same type of damage that accelerates tissue aging. The damage accumulates slowly, almost imperceptibly. The penis, an organ that needs healthy blood flow and nerve signaling to function, begins to receive less of both. It's like forcing delicate machinery until its gears wear out. A patient of Dr. Carter's, a 63-year-old lawyer named Robert, who came to her clinic for erectile dysfunction, was a clear example. He was a successful man, disciplined in everything except for one habit that he believed was harmless. He confessed to her that he frequently spent time alone, believing this was a sign of good sexual health. However, what he was doing was training his body and brain to respond to a type of stimulation that was neither healthy nor sustainable. It wasn't intimacy he was lacking, it was function. When she explained that his habit was exhausting his system, the understanding on his face was palpable. It wasn't a matter of willpower, but of biology. It wasn't blame, but understanding that was needed. Next, Dr. Carter will show how a simple adjustment in the frequency and intention of this habit can make an incredible difference. Third, science is clear, less is more. When discussing sexual health and ejaculation frequency, science is not on the side of excessive practice. Various studies have begun to suggest that conscious moderation not only preserves function, but even improves it. A study from the Journal of the American Medical Association, JAMA, for example, found that men who ejaculated more frequently had a lower risk of prostate cancer. But here's the key. This study was talking about a healthy frequency, not an extreme frequency. A balance. Research suggests the benefit comes from a regular, moderate frequency, not from excess. When the body has the opportunity to restore itself, to rebuild nitric oxide, and to balance dopamine chemistry, the natural response improves. It's a simple principle of homeostasis: give the body what it needs and give it time to recover. A man once told Dr. Carter, "Doctor, I thought I was using it so I wouldn't lose it." He said it was like using a battery until it dies, and that analogy is perfect. The body is not a battery that can be discharged without consequences. It is a biological system that requires recharging and rest. By reducing frequency and refocusing intention, men not only avoid depletion but also allow their nerves and blood vessels to repair and strengthen. It's about shifting from excessive consumption to conscious preservation, from an act of discharging to an act of recharging. But it's not just about stopping something, it's also about starting something else. Next, Dr. Carter will tell the story of Robert, the lawyer, and how one simple change transformed his sex life and his confidence. Fourth, Robert's true story. When Robert returned to her clinic after 2 months of following her advice, there was a different energy about him. He no longer looked down, he looked her in the eyes with a smile. "Doctor," he said, "I think I get it. It wasn't about stopping pleasure, it was about honoring my body. I gave it a rest, a real rest. And in that rest, something incredible happened." Robert, with her guidance, committed to conscious moderation. Instead of a daily or even multiple times a day habit, he focused on intimacy with his wife, not just physical, but emotional. He began to reconnect with her, and what happened was astonishing. The first week, nothing happened. The second week, he felt a slight increase in morning arousal. The third week, he had a full, lasting morning erection, something he hadn't seen in years. By the end of the second month, he not only had stronger, more consistent erections, but his sexual desire had returned with a force that surprised him. And here's the most important part. He told Dr. Carter that his relationship with his wife had transformed. He no longer felt ashamed, he felt connected. His self-confidence had returned because he knew his body could respond when it mattered most. The lesson here is not to stop having pleasure. It is to have pleasure in a way that empowers, not weakens. But how exactly is this done? How does one shift from a depleting habit to one that strengthens? Dr. Carter explains this next. 5. How to correct the habit the right way. Correcting this habit isn't about willpower, but about a deep understanding of how the body works. And to correct it, it must be replaced with a habit that strengthens it. It's not just about reducing frequency, it's about changing the mindset. She tells her patients to think about their sexual reserve. The goal isn't to deplete the reserve, it's to protect it. And to do that, she gives them a 2-part action plan. The first part is simple but powerful. Set an intention. When men engage in self-stimulation, they should do it with intention. Instead of it being a quick escape from stress, it should become a conscious way to connect with the body. Reduce the frequency. If it's a daily habit, reduce it to 3 or 4 times a week. If it's 3 or 4, reduce it to 1 or 2. The goal is not total abstinence, but conscious moderation. Give the body time to recharge its nitric oxide production, restore its dopamine levels, and repair its nerves. The second part is just as important. Focus on activation. During this period of moderation, Dr. Carter asks patients to engage in daily physical activity, even if it's just a 20-minute walk. Physical activation helps increase blood flow and nitric oxide production. Combining moderation with movement is the recipe for repair. It is what allows the body to heal. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Robert wasn't perfect. There were days he slipped up, but what made the difference was that he returned to his commitment the next day. And next, Dr. Carter will share what men can expect after 90 days of following this simple correction, because the results go far beyond erections. 6. What happens after 90 days? Dr. Carter has seen the transformation in her patients countless times. A man walks in feeling depleted, shoulders slumped, with a look of defeat. But after 3 months of correcting this habit, he returns with an energy that lights him up. His posture is different. He stands taller, speaks with more clarity, and laughs more freely. And before he says a word, she already knows something has changed. When a man commits to this correction for 90 days, he doesn't just notice improvements in his erections. Yes, many men experience stronger, more consistent morning erections. Yes, arousal and desire begin to return in a natural, quiet way. But that is just the beginning. What really stands out is how his entire body begins to respond. Blood pressure stabilizes, focus sharpens, fatigue fades. That mental fog that so many men attribute to aging begins to lift. They feel lighter, clearer, more connected to themselves, and often more present with their partner. One of her patients told her he hadn't felt a true need in 5 years. After 90 days, he felt that familiar urge again. Another said his confidence soared, not just in the bedroom, but in the boardroom. These are not random benefits, they are real biochemical changes. More nitric oxide means better circulation throughout the body, more dopamine means better mood and desire, less inflammation means stronger nerve signals and clearer thinking. And here's the most powerful part: none of this requires being perfect. Men don't have to change their entire life overnight. Just give the body the right signal over and over. That is the power of consistency. It compounds. But what if they've tried everything before and nothing has worked? What if they are afraid to hope again? Dr. Carter deeply understands that feeling, and that is exactly why this next part is so important. Because they need to know this correction isn't just a fad, it's the foundation. And without it, even the strongest treatments can fail. She explains, 7, why this correction is the foundation, not a temporary fix. She has seen so many men seek quick fixes, pills, powders, injections, hoping for instant results. And when they don't work, or when they stop working, the disappointment is profound. She understands that desperation. She has seen men walk into her office, shoulders slumped, feeling they have tried everything and failed. But the truth is, most of those approaches target the symptom, not the source. And that is where everything changes. The body is not just a machine that can be turned on at convenience. It is a living, breathing system that responds to rhythm, not random effort. Correcting the habit of excessive ejaculation works because it supports the foundation, the very system's erections depend on: blood flow, brain chemistry, and nerve function. It doesn't force an artificial response. It nurtures the body's ability to respond naturally. When men ask Dr. Carter why they should bother correcting a habit if they can just take a pill, her answer is simple: because pills without a foundation are like building a house on sand. They might hold up for a little while, but they won't last. And deep down, most men aren't just looking for one good night. They are looking to feel like themselves again. They want consistency, confidence, control. That only comes from rebuilding what time and stress have worn down. The beauty of this is that it's never too late. She has had men in their 70s and 80s who have seen remarkable changes, not because they did anything extreme, but because they committed to a small, consistent adjustment their body could trust. That is the difference between managing a problem and healing it. And now that the why behind this powerful correction is understood, it's time to bring it all together. Because in the end, this isn't just about a habit. It's about the man, his life, his legacy, and what kind of man he still has time to become. Let's talk about that. Conclusion: if there is one thing Dr. Carter hopes viewers take away from this, it's that their body has not given up on them. Even if it has been silent for a while, even if they have felt numb, tired, or invisible, the truth is there is still a spark in them. And sometimes, all it needs is the right signal to come back to life. She discussed what is really happening, how aging affects nitric oxide, dopamine, and nerves. She showed how excessive ejaculation depletes these systems and how conscious moderation can help restore them. She shared Robert's story, who thought his best days were behind him until he corrected this habit and began to reawaken physically and emotionally. She guided viewers through how to make this correction, how to make the habit stick, and what to expect after 90 days, not just in the bedroom, but in how they think, feel, and show up in life. And she explored why this isn't a trick or a trend, but a foundation, a way of giving the body back what it has been silently asking for. She has dedicated her life to helping men reclaim their strength, their connection, and their sense of self. And she can state with absolute certainty, it is never too late to start over. Men don't need to be perfect, they don't need to do everything at once, they just need to start with one simple adjustment in frequency and the willingness to believe that change is still possible. Because it is. She has seen it, she has lived it with her patients, and now perhaps it's the viewer's turn. Many of them thought their best years were behind them forever, but when the focus shifts to the root causes of the decline, not just the symptoms, something incredible begins to happen. The body begins to repair itself, erections return, confidence is rebuilt, And most importantly, intimacy once again becomes an act of pleasure, not anxiety. And this is where it gets interesting because most men assume the key to firm, lasting erections lies in testosterone, but the truth is there is another system, a silent neurovascular axis connecting the brain and blood vessels, that is the true engine of sexual health. And if it isn't cared for, no amount of testosterone or medication will provide lasting results. In this video, Dr. Carter will reveal the incorrect way of using the penis that is damaging this axis. She will teach the simple change that can protect it, and why this correction might be the breakthrough men have been waiting for. Viewers should stay tuned because they won't want to miss this. Before diving completely into the topic, if viewers haven't subscribed yet, Dr. Carter encourages them to do so right now. Press that subscription button and activate the bell so they never miss advice that could help them regain their manhood and vitality. And if this message resonates, type the word 1 in the comments. If not, type the word 0, so Dr. Carter knows how she can best help in the future. Let's start with the truth. Most men over 50 are never told that their performance problems aren't just about age. The real problem begins deep inside the body with a silent decline in 3 key systems. And if the first one, blood flow, isn't addressed, nothing else will work. Dr. Carter explains. First, understanding the silent triple threat affecting sexual health. She has sat across from hundreds of men, good men, strong men, who look her in the eyes with a mix of frustration and defeat and ask, "Doctor, what is happening to me?" Their voices are often low, their confidence broken. And today, Dr. Carter is going to explain how a simple science-based adjustment could help restore the kind of performance and confidence men haven't felt in years. It's not a magic pill, it's not a supplement, and it's not an injection. It's something much simpler and much more powerful. This is more than just advice, it's a daily reminder that they are still alive, still capable, and still very much a man. The choice is theirs. If this video gave viewers hope or taught them something valuable, they are encouraged to take a moment to like, share, and leave a comment below. Dr. Carter reads them all. Their voice helps this message reach more men who need it. And if they would like to support the channel so more honest, science-based content can be created, they might consider making a small donation. Every little bit makes a difference.